What's up, family? Welcome to Ask to My Ots.
where we challenge you to stop playing and start pushing.
I mean, that right there is real.
It's just me. It's just in me.
My dog is bigger than him.
Stank. Lay your breath in my face. Let's see if you're going 3 for 3.
This is my beautiful wife, Iana.
And this is my adorable husband, Aigize. Welcome, y'all. Welcome to Ask the Ma'ats. We're the Ma'ats, and we're going to get it started. We have a very, very good question in today. Every question is a good question. But this comes from a married woman, a wife, who is in a pickle.
A pickle?
Mm-hmm. A pickle.
A dill pickle?
She has a dilemma.
Okay.
And it's really more than a pickle. It's actually quite a serious situation. She has not had sex with her husband since last, I'm looking at the laptop, y'all, since
June of 2009.
Oh, you got it. Go ahead, baby. June of 2009. So that is over a year.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason that she has not had sex with him is because her husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And in July, he had surgery. So because of that, some of the effects of that, he is impotent. Mm-hmm. He's unable to get an erection. And so he has just not been intimate with her at all. She says for him, sex is intimacy. And, you know, she tries to let him know that intimacy is more than that. There's all kinds of ways that we can be intimate, and she feels that it's unfair. You know, she's moved from the space of trying to, you know, it's okay to say, wait a minute, you know, you're kind of leaving me vulnerable to temptation. It's been over a year, we haven't made love. And so she's just at her wit's end. She says that she's not aware of any support groups in her area for persons who are married to someone who, you know, have had prostate surgery, and she's just at her wit's end. She don't know what to do. So go on ahead, baby. Take a stab at it and see if you can maybe give her some insight as to where he is and perhaps what she can do.
Yeah, you mentioned that he identifies sex with intimacy, and that's not uncommon when it comes to men. I think that we men, we need to be re-educated about what intimacy really means. One of the things that we say in our class is, you know, intimacy is into me, you see. So, you know, the purpose of being in a married relationship is, you know, you're supposed to be able to be transparent with the other person and allow the other person to see into you. So his objective when it comes to intimacy should be to see into you, to see what's in your heart, to see what's in your mind, to see what's in your spirit. Now, you know, a lot of times we men, we have difficulty in doing that, and so we need some coaching. We need some very specific instructions on what it is that we need to do to be intimate with you. So if he only sees sex as intimacy, my challenge to you is to make sure you're being very clear with him about what intimacy means for you. So for instance, if, you know, sitting on the couch next to you after a hard day of work is intimacy for you, express that to him. If holding hands while you all are walking out, you know, in the streets, if that's intimacy to you, express that to him. He needs to know very clearly and concretely what intimacy is for you if you want him to deliver on that to you.
Now, I'm kind of, as my husband's talking, I'm reading some other little points in here that we didn't share. They're in their early 40s. So this has to be quite difficult for him to deal with, so young in life. And much of his...
It would be devastating, you know, for me. And I'm pretty sure for most men, you know, to be going through an experience like that. Because, you know, a lot of times our manhood is based off of how we perform sexually. So that's a difficult space that he's in.
That ain't right.
Yeah, no, that's not right.
It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, and you know, like my wife mentioned, you know, you've moved beyond the space of, you know, pretty much, you know, being a caterer to him and his emotions, and now you want to make sure that the other half of the equation in the relationship is fulfilled, which is your emotions. So I think you're entitled to that. Especially if you're going about doing it in a sensitive manner.
And here's something that I want to share, and I want to ask you to really be honest with yourself about. You also say that you don't get any kisses, no touching, nothing. I just want to ask you, was it like that before he had the diagnosis of prostate cancer and had the surgery? I mean, really, that would be a drastic shift. And, you know, certainly it's possible because that's a huge thing that he's had to undergo, right? But my intuition says that perhaps there was some limitation in his ability to connect in emotionally before that. Perhaps he wasn't really kissing and touching you as much as you would have liked before the surgery. And so now that the surgery has happened, whereas before you all could come together and have sex, and you could get your touching and your kissing and that emotional connection via that way, now that has happened, now it's pretty much gone because you didn't really get it a whole bunch before. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a
And
good
so
point.
now it's pretty much absent because the one place that you knew you could get it through sex, that place is now challenged. And so if that is the case, then that really speaks to a greater issue at hand. And we know it's a greater issue at hand. And I would say this to you. What you need to do is to continue doing what you've been doing. She said she's been putting it on the table in front of him, communicating to him that this is not working. And you have to really help him to understand that it's not an option. Y'all got to get into some counseling. He's got to go to a support group. It cannot continue on this way. It's not healthy. All of the things my husband said. A relationship cannot survive for an extended drought like that with one person doing all the work and the other person not attempting to do anything.
Yeah, it's unfair. It's unfair.
It's
to you.
unfair.
It's
It
unfair
really
to the
is.
relationship.
It is. So you've got to, perhaps engage someone who really trusts, who he looks to, perhaps who he might listen to, and see if they might be willing to talk to him. He might get mad because you done went outside of your relationship and talked to somebody else about it. But I would tell him that I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I would say, look, I've done this, and this, and you're not hearing me, so I am going to your daddy. I am going to,
You going to your dad?
I might have to do that, because I know that you respect your father, and I feel that this is a crisis. And there are all kinds of silent crises that happen in our lives. And this is a crisis, and it can't continue on. So sometimes you got to pull some other tools out, and you got to go get the village to pull somebody out of a place. Because what he will not do for you, he may be able to hear and do for someone else so that he can just start to move a bit.
Yeah.
I think you got it. I think she knows this is difficult for him. But guess what? This is my personal belief. God doesn't give us anything that we can't deal with. So he can get through it. And guess what? So can you. We want you to stop playing and start pushing.